It's finally here. It's fine. We're finally on draft week. A few days. We're gonna. It's almost. It's like NFL Christmas.
It really is. I wish that NFL Christmas would start sooner, but yeah, it's going to be a long night. It's here. I think we pretty much, for the most part, know the Steelers have made their moves in free agency. Allen Robinson was probably the last big name they brought on since you and I last talked. So I think that pretty much puts to bed any chance they would draft a receiver. So to me, for the Steelers, I think it's down to probably a cornerback or an offensive tackle.
And possibly defensive line.
And I think there's only one guy we know that I would be the wild card, and that's
Jalen
Jalen
Carter.
Carter. Yeah.
Oh, that would be glorious. Yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know. This is totally there's a lot of unpredictability and all this talk about quarterbacks going early, which they always do. That's like fine, bring them. Draft all the quarterbacks early. We got our quarterback. All those quarterbacks you draft early just means more players that are available to the Steelers. So
I
keep
think you're
drafting
right.
them.
I think it really could. You have some guys out there you didn't think could affect us that could. You take like Will Levis. I mean, who for years, and we talked about this last time. I still scratch my head a little bit. And he spent years, he couldn't break through as a starter at Penn State. Goes to Kentucky, pretty decent year, and all of a sudden, a lot of people think he's going to go maybe to the Redskins, the Commanders, who picked right before us. But some people have him going as high as 4 to the Colts. Carolina most likely is going with Stroud or Bryce Young. Then you got Houston with 2 picks in the top 10. They'll probably screw that up. So I'm sure they'll take. That's why they're always picking in the top 10.
Right,
Um,
right.
Arizona doesn't seem to be sold on Kyler Murray anymore. I don't know. And the Seahawks, they seem at least pretty. And can you believe that the Seahawks are pretty happy with a West Virginia legend at quarterback? That just, I never thought we'd ever hear from the guy again.
Hey, I mean, that was the biggest shock of the year when it's like they're going with Geno Smith. What? And then it turned out he was okay. He was okay for a while, but they're like, no, we're sticking with him. Like, hey, good for you, but
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, he didn't make any. He had one of the highest pass ratings in the league last year. So you're right. I mean, good for you. I don't see it, but I think where you're going with this, Joe, if I'm not being too presumptive, and I think what it could be is this could really give the Steelers all kinds of options. And that's where I think if those quarterbacks do go heavy early, you could see them maybe start trading up again.
oh
Um,
yeah.
and I really feel like I think the two guys that they're still in love with, I think Joey Porter Jr. and yeah, because his dad went here, maybe a small part of that. But I think they're really big into him, and I really think they are big on Broderick Jones. I think Carter might be one of those things. If it falls to us, we'll give it a shot. But I really think they would move up to get one of those two. They may even move up to get like Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. They really need to play this cornerback smart. They played actually some whatever you want to call it platforms have them ranked 5th. By my math, they played the 4th highest amount of defensive in man coverage of anybody in the league last year. So that
Who's
means
that?
the Steelers.
Okay.
So yeah, that means they've got to address the cornerback situation. So the cornerback is very deep this year in the draft, but I still think there's 3 guys. I think it's Porter Jr., I think it's Gonzalez, I think it's Witherspoon those are the A guys. Then you have the high Bs. So I think if they trade up, it's going to be for him. I really think they like Broderick Jones a lot. I would not be surprised if Broderick Jones is our first round draft pick. But then the tackles are deep too. So, and then Tomlin actually finally came out and said, what was it, I think Friday, that he expects to get a lot of calls for that 32nd pick. So they could end up with 2 picks in the first round. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
He was basically saying he was basically like advertising, like, "Hey, call us, call us. We got the 30-second pick. Call us." No,
Right.
it makes a lot of sense because goofy things could happen. Will Levis can go top 5, or he could go, outside of the first round. Same thing with Richardson, or if Hendon Hooker is available, in the first
Yep.
in the second round, then you're just you got that prime pick, that first pick of the second round when you see how everything's sorted out. It's wonderful. Yeah, go. I'd be perfectly fine if they traded that 32nd pick.
It is. And now, this is what's fun about this week. You said like it's Christmas week. Now it's kind of coming out like the Christmas wish lists. And you can see like, the Patriots have made it's not a secret. The Patriots are very high on Joey Porter Jr. So, do they draft up and jump in front of the Patriots somehow?
Right.
To do that, or can they get in front of the Jets? Then do they say the Patriots, hey, we'll give you a 32nd pick and you give us, I don't know. It's really going to be very interesting. And then the wild card though is Carter. I mean, this is a guy that some people had going number 1 overall
Yep.
until that unfortunate, tragic, array of events there after the national championship game. If it wasn't for that, he probably is my guess going 1 or 2. I don't think he would have gotten to Arizona 3. So, but now, like, if you say, well, hey, if he falls to the Steelers at 17, they're going to pick him. Well, there's also 16 other teams where, hey, maybe the Falcons say, well, we never expect him to be here at 8, so maybe they take him. Or maybe, the Eagles say, hey, we lost a lot of guys on defense, and if he's sitting there at the 10th pick, we're gonna take him.
There's about 4 different spots he could go, and Jalen Carter could go in the top 10. There's Seattle at 5, which would make a lot of sense. The Raiders at 7, that would make a lot of sense just because they like those troubled guys. They like those guys with the red flags.
You look like a Raider guy.
Yeah, he totally looks like a Raider guy.
Yeah.
I could see him going to the Bears at 9, and I could see him going to the Eagles at 10. Now, if he gets past the Eagles at 10, then open up the floodgates. Get him. Go get him. You could easily trade from 17 to 11 to get him, and you're not giving up that much. So
no, I agree. So it's like, and I think it was Georgia's head coach that said maybe our team MVP these last 2 years, these national title championships, has actually been him. So it's really odd. I usually think we have a somewhat of an idea who we think the Steelers are going to pick. It's tough. I mean, ideally, if you said, Darren, who do you really think they're going to take? I think it's going to be Broderick Jones, but I don't know. I think if they stay at 17, that could be who it is. But all these other things, all these other factors could come into play. God knows what's going to happen.
It's going to be crazy. And with the way Omar Khan is, we've seen with the Allen Robinson trade, that's not something that Kevin Colbert would have done.
Probably not.
No, or trading Chase Claypool for that second round pick. You don't know. He's this we criticize the Steelers for being old fashioned and stuck in their ways and traditional, and now they got a guy that is somewhat modern. So he could trade up, he could trade back. We don't know. It's exciting.
Yeah, and you and I have been talking about that since almost December or January when the Steelers season ended. And we were like, you know what? Now it's going to be fun. What's Omar Khan going to do? Because we both kind of knew it was going to be different, and it really has been. And again, I would be fine too. And all the funniness, we talk about all these scenarios. If they just stayed at 17 and 32, I'd also be pretty happy. I mean,
I'd be thrilled with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let them fall. Just they, like you said, they've addressed just about everything. Just take the best player available. Heck, I even saw a mock draft that said they're taking that wide receiver, Jackson Smith and Jigba. So if that's the case, you could trade Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, you could. And there's other guys they like. They're big on Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State. He's a cornerback. They're big on Daniel Scott from Cal, a safety who could convert into a cornerback. And then there's Kaylee Ringo from Georgia. There's like 4 guys from Georgia that they want.
That was such a loaded team.
Those guys they could probably get at that 32 pick, or whatever they may do. So, I mean, they may feel like, hey, we can get the guy we want to get if Joey Porter's gone. But I do feel if there is a guy that could determine what they do, it could be if Joey Porter Jr. is there and it looks like they either have the opportunity to get him. I think that's the guy they may try to pull the trigger on to move up to get, or I think it's Broderick Jones. I think those are the 2 guys they like the most. Tomlin's not going to show you his cards; he never does. But I just think from just the feeling I get, that's just been the guy. I mean, I think everybody has had the Steelers going after Joey Porter Jr. since like November. So he's got to be in the mix. But like I said, there's some other guys, Devin Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez, that are out there. And then the tackles are tremendous. And they need a tackle. They really need a tackle.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at a mock draft that has the Patriots at 14 taking Broderick Jones, and then the Washington at 16 taking Joey Porter Jr., which would just be so. See,
that'd be tough.
Here's what I want to know, and this is something I've never been able to figure out. How much do the NFL teams and GMs talk to each other? Like, how much does the Washington GM talk to Omar Khan and saying, "Hey, we're going to take Joey Porter. We're going to take him right before you do." So it's like, okay, game on. Then I'll trade up to get him before you do. So I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think that they do. I think as long as I think 2 big things come into play. One, just a good relationship overall, but 2, I think the Steelers could be talking to the Commanders with a lot more, free talk and open communication than they would be with the Bengals, Browns, and Ravens, right?
Yeah.
I think those are guys they might talk to, but yeah, I think that they do. And they got to be talking a little bit about what would you do, and I think that's got to come early, right? Like, Tomlin's got to kind of look at how probably those first 8 to 10 picks go, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. If Carter's there after 10, well, now we got to start talking about what we're going to do here. But that's the other thing. That's why Carter's such a wild card, because we can't just think of that as, well, if he follows the Steelers, they're going to take him. But there's probably 6 or 7 other teams that are like, holy shit, Carter fell to us.
Right. They're thinking the same thing. Yeah.
They're going to think of the same thing. And so, yeah, he's really kind of the wild card in the whole first round there, really, where he may go. I don't think he'll get out of first round at all. But he could go anywhere. And, even you look at the Lions, I mean, they had a very good defense last year. Could you imagine if the Lions, and they have 2 picks, they pick right after the Steelers. Could you imagine the Lions adding Carter? I could see them doing it too.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's really interesting the way they could go. And then the one sleeper I've seen in some circles is Cansey from Pitt. He's a tremendous defensive tackle, and it's something the Steelers need. So he's another guy that could kind of shuffle things up a little bit in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen him go all over the place. So yeah, who knows? I think it would be hilarious if the Patriots drafted Joey Porter Jr. and then his dad has to become a Patriots fan.
Yeah, I don't know.
If the Ravens draft him and he has to become a Ravens fan.
Oh, that would be bad.
That's just a lot of bad blood there.
There really is, yeah. Or could he end up with the Bengals? That could even be worse.
Oh,
can you imagine going the Bengals? I think there's one other guy out there that I don't think get mentioned as much as he should. And it's Paris Johnson Jr. At Ohio State. He reminds me like Orlando Pace used to be. He's
a giant.
He destroys guys. He's physical. He has massive arms. He has massive arm length. He's another guy that I think could see the Steelers taking. And I think I put it kind of in that order. I think it's still Joey Porter Jr., no matter what anybody says. Then I think it's Broderick Jones, Paris Jones Jr. is kind of what I think might be on the big board, but it's just a guess. So there could be other guys. And, I know Tomlin likes Devin Witherspoon from Illinois. He's considered a number one overall cornerback, so probably a chance he won't be there. But there could be a lot of things that fall into their lap. I think the Jets, if they are at 15, that they're probably wanting to protect their new acquisition. Seems like every time we do this podcast, Joe, something huge breaks that day.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers officially to the Jets today, as the time we're filming this podcast. So now that kind of throws a wrench into a thing because the Packers they swap that pick. They'll have the 13th pick now.
I am shocked that they did that deal now. I figured they would do the deal like right after the Jets picked at 13 or something like that. But yeah, they Aaron Rodgers is a Jets, and so they traded first round picks, and I think the Packers also got their second this year, and a conditional second that might turn into a first for next year. So
yeah, and a fourth. So
yeah.
I put that on Twitter. I think you liked it a few weeks ago. Like, haven't we seen this before? Brett Favre as a Jet, and we'll see. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. The only thing I always say about Aaron Rodgers, as good as he's supposed to be, and all the skills he has, he's I don't know if that's on the Packers or that's on him. Like, how are the Packers not won more championships, or at least been in more Super Bowls with him at the helm? I still feel there's something odd there. I'm not saying anybody sucks. He obviously doesn't suck. He's a 4-time NFL MVP, for God's sakes. But how did you really mess it up that bad if you're the Packers? I don't know.
There were some years where the Packers were like the number 1 seed. They're at home. They get a bye, and they still blow it. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, they're like the Gonzaga of the NFC.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. And so, the Jets didn't have a great offensive line last year, so obviously you want to protect that investment. So I'm thinking they got to be looking at the tackle too. So would they allow the Steelers, like you're saying, are the GM's going to talk? Are they going to allow the Steelers to jump in front of them to get one of the top tackles, in there? So it's really going to be quite dramatic. It's funny, and I can really care less what happens to anybody after the Steelers pick.
Right?
It's like,
I kind of do, only because it's like, well, if we still have that 32nd pick, then I kind of care what 18 through 31 are. But other than that, I don't care what they do.
That's the thing. Obviously, someone's not going to give like a top tier pick, but someone that has that 28th, 29th, 27th, they may go for 32. So the Steelers may be picking again in the first round. I probably think it's not that highly likely, but you never know. So it's really going to be interesting. We've compared it to fantasy drafts sometimes too. It's like, well, here go their quarterbacks. It's like, if that's the way it goes, then it's going to get really interesting.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's exciting. And but that's the thing about that night is it's so long. Like, come on, we don't need 15 minutes between each pick. Like, come on, let's speed this up a little bit. Let's talk faster, guys. Come on.
It is. It's so brutal. I like the idea of them. I actually love the idea that they've been like going to different NFL cities and hosting it live there. I think it's fun. Although I feel like we should have had it before, like that.
But Pittsburgh needs, if they're sending it to different cities, you better bring it to Pittsburgh.
It should be coming here soon. I agree with you.
Put it in the Monroeville Convention Center,
where they can't even get like Comic-Con going there,
right?
Breaking fire codes and everything. And it's you and I both say a lot of times, but there's a big part of me that would love that first Saturday morning, getting up 9 a.m. Here we go, 3 rounds on Saturday. it's your whole day. I miss that too. But yeah, this first night, that first, I guess it's probably gonna be 2.5 hours, Joe, maybe two before they even get to the Steelers at 17.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I'm not sure what time it kicks off this year again, 8 o'clock, hopefully.
I believe 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I like the national championship game, I think it tipped off at like 9:20. I'm like, are you out of your damn mind?
That's so
Like
stupid.
9:20, guys.
You're starting in the middle of the night. Like that's
Yeah.
so
Hey,
dumb.
you know what? I'm sorry. If you live on the West Coast, too bad you live on the West Coast. I don't know what to tell you. But so yeah, I don't know. So 8 o'clock and get it rolling. But yeah, but in this year I think it may take longer because I think there could be a lot of wheeling and dealing. It's going to be a very interesting draft, and probably I've been saying this to you for weeks now. I think it's the most important draft for the Steelers in the last decade. It really is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Omar Khan has made a lot of moves this year so far this offseason, and they look good so far. On paper, they look good, but it's all about this is it. It's like, okay, what kind of GM are you? What kind of draft are you gonna have? Your success will be defined by the draft. So no pressure, bro.
Well, and you bring up interesting question earlier about how much do the GMs communicate, and how much are him and Tomlin going to communicate right in our own organization? Like how's that going to go? Who's going to be the guy that really says no? I get the final say.
We never know. We've never known who was like the final decision maker. I guess the final decision maker is the owner. But really, I don't know. I don't know. We have no idea who is actually, calling the shots and who wants what. We don't know.
Yeah, but I think some of the good books, like the I think I hate I forget his name, the guy that did the Chuck Noll book, who did such a tremendous job in that book. And they really had to convince him a couple times to pick guys that ended up being Steeler legends, and likewise Noel had to sell them on some things. So, you just gotta. I love the dichotomy of that. I kind of wonder how it's gonna go.
I mean, the top. I think, are you talking about Jim Wexell?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
put out a book about the draft.
yeah,
Which
yep.
which I should have grabbed. I would have I would love I love stuff like that. The story I heard about the Ben Roethlisberger draft is Bill Cowher wanted like a linebacker or something like that, and Dan Rooney came in and is like, maybe we should take a quarterback. How often are we drafting this low? So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's still that proverbial, even though we got Kenny Pickett last year, there's still that proverbial Dan Marino in 84. Like Steeler fans will never let them live that down. So it's like ever. Like Dan Marino will unfortunately one day pass away and it'll be like, yeah, that's the guy we should have drafted. Like that's the first thing they'll say is like, what would have happened? Like not like he's a great guy, but
great guy, should have been a Steeler, star of the movie Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Pet
right,
Detective. Those are
right.
the three things we know about Dan Marino.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, and there's just, I mean, and that tackle spot's so deep. They love the kid out of Northwestern too. Parker,
Skoronski.
yeah, Skoronski. So it's really, yeah. Who do you feel, Joe? Like, I mean, you asked me a little bit, like, who do you feel in your heart of hearts are going to get?
So I think they're going to go. I think they're going to get one of the tackles because if this is supposedly a deep draft on cornerbacks, so maybe they could wait till 32 or 49 to get their cornerback, but they'll get their tackle first because everything they've done has about almost every move they've made has screamed we're redoing the offensive line. Well, you redid. Okay, you got another guard. Supposedly center's okay. You got you got a lot of offensive linemen. You didn't do a dang thing with the tackles. I could see him drafting two tackles this draft.
Yeah, I could too. And I think there's enough cornerbacks that they feel like that 32nd pick, or like I said, maybe the backdoor deal might be, yeah, we'll give you a 32nd for, 27th, 20th, or 29th, somewhere in there. And that's where they grab a cornerback.
Right.
I still feel, and I swear, listening audience, I'm not being a homer. I still feel if Joey Porter Jr. is there, that's who they're going to grab. If Joey Porter Jr. is not there, then I'm with you. I think it's Broderick Jones or Paris Johnson Jr. That's who I'm going to say it's going to be.
There's a lot of validity there. I could totally see that. It's
Yep.
kind of like last year. I don't know. I don't think they expected Kenny Pickett to be there, but they just loved him. And as soon as they saw Kenny Pickett was there, it's like, grab. Okay, we're taking him. I think it's the same thing with Joey Porter Jr. It's like, regardless of who's out there, if Joey Porter Jr. is there, just for the not the sentimentality, but just for, I mean,
yeah, and that's a good point, Joe. And they stood their ground at the Kenny Pickett pick. Everyone's like, maybe we got to move up to get him. No, they stayed there. I think we're still on a little bit of a high from the Devin Bush deal. And I laughed because I just read an article 2 days where he told, I think it was Mark Cavalli, I don't know why the Steelers didn't have interest in me. And I just, what? Are you serious? But I just, who knows? You bring up the point about Omar Khan. I mean, we don't know what he's going to do. He could trade up, because when we did that for Devin Bush, we hadn't done that in forever. We haven't done it since. So it's fresh in your mind. Hey, last time we did this, we got burnt. But hey, that was a different guy, different GM. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they leapfrog into that top 12 or 13 with a trade of some sort.
So exciting. It's so exciting. I just have a feeling all the quarterbacks are going to go early. Teams won't be able to help themselves. They're just not. And yeah, I mean, Houston will probably screw it up somehow, but still, I don't know. I think that, like, of the first 5 picks, 4 of them will be quarterbacks.
I agree. I agree, and I think the Steelers probably have. If it's not Porter Jr., I think they have one other cornerback in mind. If that guy's not there, I think they go tackle, and they may even want to tackle before that. They may. I think they're really sold on Broderick Jones. And who knows who else. But I think they want to solidify that. Like I said, this is a team. Whether you want to say the number 4, number 5, that they were. That's often they played man defense. So defensive backs are crucial for this defense to succeed. So I'm sure they're going to load up on them. It's just a matter of when and where in this draft they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of talented guys. A lot of those guys are, over 6 foot. And that's something where it's kind of funny. You think back to one of the best cornerbacks we ever had. He dropped every darn interception that basically was thrown to him. But you probably know where I'm going with this.
Ike Taylor.
But Ike was a good 6'2". He was a good shutdown corner, even though he didn't have a lot of picks. Ike was a lot better than I think we ever gave him credit for during the time he was with the Steelers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If he caught some of those interceptions, he'd be a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, or at least the Steelers, Ring of Honor, Hall of Fame, whatever you want to say it. So yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of guys. So Forbes, the Ringo kid out of Georgia, they like a lot. So yeah, you never know. They could go tackle, cornerback, or they could go cornerback, tackle. I don't know. Blake Freeland from BYU is another guy they really, really like. He's a guy that could probably be there at the 32nd pick. So who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. If I were to predict, like, the first 3 picks, and one of them is a tackle, one of them is a cornerback, and I don't know what the third is. Maybe another cornerback, maybe another tackle. I don't know. Maybe 2 tackles on the cornerback. I don't know, but I think I think for sure that'll be it. Another wild card is this running back, Bijan Robinson, or is that him?
I don't know, Joe. I mean, I get him, but I think he goes a little bit earlier than people are thinking. I mean, I just do. You may even see Houston grab him early. Or not Houston.
Atlanta.
Yeah, you might see Atlanta grab him early. You might see even the Raiders, because they're going to franchise tag Jacoby, or no, Brandon Jacobs. No, what the hell? I'm sorry. What's that kid's name from the Raiders?
Josh Jacobs.
Thank you, Jacobs. I knew it was Jacobs.
Or is he
So,
gone? I'm not sure.
no,
He
he's
might.
still there.
He's
But
still okay.
I don't think they got the deal done. So he might be in a contract here. So I don't know. But you're right. Fact that he could end up falling just about anywhere here too. If
Yeah, he could
rumors
go
were,
early. He could fall, and then, yeah, if he goes early, that's another player that could be available to the Steelers.
I guess nothing did happen. I thought there were reports earlier this past week that Derrick Henry was going to the Eagles. That hasn't happened. But if something were to happen on Thursday and the Titans get rid of Henry, then they're probably going to grab this young man. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I can't. Go ahead.
What's that?
No, go ahead. You're good.
I was just gonna say, I think it's just going to be totally unpredictable. Heck, we might see Lamar Jackson get traded.
It's funny. I was thinking about you today. We were talking earlier. I'm in Miami this week, folks, but I had a Ravens fan sitting at my table today, and he just put his head down. He said, "We're a mess." I said, "I know." I said, "I have a buddy that we're getting together. We're doing a podcast later. We've said it. We don't really often say the Ravens are a mess, but they're a mess."
I'm telling you what.
We are.
I was thinking that today. I think the Ravens are not only just a mess. I think they're just a house of cards. I think they're just ready to collapse. If this Lamar Jackson is basically holding the team together right now, and it could just totally obliterate, because I don't think they're as good. Like people think, oh, the Ravens are so good at drafting. Not really. Not really. I think when they lost, what was his name, Ozzie Newsome as a GM, as soon as he was gone, the new guy isn't so good. It's smoke and mirrors there.
And I think one of the things that Lamar got really, he lost a lot of, I don't want to say followers. He lost a lot of support when he didn't show up to the playoff game, because him and Huntley were like really good buddies. They're like best friends. And, he's starting a playoff game. You don't even show up to a playoff game to support your friend. I mean,
that was a real bad look.
Bad look on him, bad look on the organization. I think that's why the Ravens GM kind of took a shot at, no good top running back, or no good top receivers, no good top quarterbacks. It's a mess there.
Hey man, be there, be on there on the sideline, be there for your team. Just offer some help or something like that. Yeah, that was a really bad look.
Yeah,
And I know you shouldn't take anything that happens on Twitter seriously, but Lamar Jackson did send out a tweet saying basically to the people of Baltimore, I love you, but bye. So I mean, I don't think this is going to end well. I don't think he's going to end up being a Raven. I don't know.
I didn't even think of that, Joe. You're right, and that could throw another big wild card, because what if they trade him and they jump into the top 5 or top 6 somehow by doing that? I'm sure, not to pick on them, I'm sure Houston or like Arizona would be dumb enough to do it.
Yes,
we'll give you Kyler Murray. And it's just I'm sorry,
sure.
Texas fans.
I could see that. I could see something silly like that happen. Yeah,
I could.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I know you're out of town now. I know you rock your Steeler gear, you rock your whatever thing. I was just out of town. I was rocking my Steeler hat. And mostly, I'm sure it happens to you too. You get friendly people. Maybe a little good nature ribbon or something like that, but mostly friendly people. It's like, hey, if they're a fan of another team or something like that, they're nice about it. And this guy just comes up to me. He says, "By the way, it wasn't a catch." And at first, I thought it was a Patriots fan, and then I thought maybe it's a Raiders fan about the immaculate reception, and then I thought maybe it's an Arizona Cardinals fan about the Super Bowl. I don't even know what he was referring to.
It's funny you should say that, because I spent some time in the airport, obviously getting down here, and I saw there's more people and I've been traveling a lot lately. There's more people wearing their NFL gear this week, and they were talking. A guy came up to me at Miami International. I was waiting to pick up my bags. We got behind a Carnival cruise line, pickup, so it took forever. And this guy, he walks right up to me and he's in a Colts hat. And he's like, "So what do you think you guys are doing?" And I mean, it's funny. You're right. It's very palpable this year. Cause I think a lot of teams are in that thing. Like no one knows what Carolina's going to do. Are they going to go? Are they going to go with Bryce Young? Are they going to go with Stroud?
Yeah.
Could they be the Carolina Panthers and pick a kicker? And then I think anybody doing a podcast this week about this very thing of, let's say, these 18 teams right here are probably talking about what do you think is going to happen to Jalen Carter?
Right.
I think it's a wild card for everybody, including us. And that's the other thing. I mean, what if he does fall right to us? You and I are sitting here for the last 25, 30 minutes talking about offensive tackles and cornerbacks.
Right. I don't care. I don't care if it turns out he's the biggest bust ever. If he's available, you got to take him. I don't care. I would rather take that chance.
I agree. I think he's a freak. I mean, you put him in there with TJ Watt. I mean, could you imagine the possibilities? It's just, yeah, and it is a deep draft on offensive tackle. So then maybe you get the offensive tackle. I don't know. It's so much fun to figure out what they may do or just pontificate what they may do.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
it's so much fun. It's so much fun, but especially when they say the Steelers are on the clock, it's like, okay, here we go, finally.
Right, but the thing is too, like by then, what has happened by finally? It's like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, it's really going to be interesting.
Yeah. All right. I also one last thing. Speaking of the Colts, they're picking at 4, and Arizona picks at 3. I could see them moving up from 4 to 3 and like trading like 5 first-round draft picks or some stupid thing like that. How about the 49ers? They're trying to trade Trey Lance. They traded like 3 first-round picks for the dude.
And now they're trying to trade him. I know it's amazing. And I guess we shouldn't. I mean, it's funny. It's what anything could happen today or tomorrow, or Thursday morning prior to draft day. There's nothing saying you can't make a move on Thursday morning before draft night. So yeah, I don't think it's over yet. I mean, it may or may not be, but yeah, this is a deep draft, a talented draft. There's a lot of guys out there saying this could be one of those ones that goes down as one of the better draft classes in the last 15 to 20 years. So there's a lot of top heavy talent. I think talent that can make an impact right away with a lot of these teams. So yeah, I mean, I'm pumped.
Yeah, so exciting. All right. I'm sure we'll talk Thursday. I'm sure everybody will be talking Thursday. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be awesome. So, all right. Thanks for coming on, and hope your hotel's working okay.
It's working great, Joe. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to next week, hopefully, and we can talk about what they did.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
Joe.
Bye.
Bye.